Good evening, YouTubers. Welcome to episode 36 of Shrigleytube TV. It's been a really busy week. I've done quite a few interviews with new customers and old customers, and yeah, it's been good. Hopefully you'll enjoy the content. Moving on to next week, it's all about the NEC. We're going to go to the NEC on Thursday for the classic restoration show. So I've got my car on the stand, my little blue and silver race car, along with James's race car, and we'll have some parts for sale as well to help make the weekend pay. So if you want to come along and have a sit down and say hello and whatever you want to do, buy a t-shirt, anything, we'll be there anyway. So that's the NEC 22nd of March starting. So I'll wrap this up pretty quick because we've got a lot to get through tonight. I don't even know I'll have space on my phone to upload it all. Hopefully I will. And I'll look forward to I'll see you again on Tuesday night at 7, because I've got a bit of a treat, well, a treat for me, whether you like it or not, is Brands Hatch, where it was televised properly on Motors TV back in 2011, and I've got the in-car as well, so I'll do a bit of a voiceover and try and get the volumes correct so you can hear it all. Right, great, hope you enjoy the video, and I'll see you Tuesday. Bye for now. Okay, YouTubers, it's Sunday night. Hopefully you're watching Shrigleytube TV. I'm in the garage. Guess where I am? I'm sat in the space frame, dead pleased with myself. I've really looked forward to doing this. Bolted the seating, made all the seat mounts. I've got good head clearance as well, which is nice because it's a really low car. I'll jump out now and do a video outside. You'll see how low it is. Right, this is the first time the car's been off the trolley. It's on the floor now. Obviously it wants painting still. I've got my little mounts there for me individual seat belts. There's two more. Can you see them there inside there? They're for the crotch belt. And then there's one there, and there's one here. Now, I think I'm going to move that because the belt's going to come out at a bit of a funny angle. I prefer it to be mounted behind the seat, definitely. So I'll do that. And then look how low it is. It's absolutely tiny. So yeah, we are making progress. I've welded all of the sleeved, you can't really see, but it is in. It's not tight, but I've put the extra bars in, and I made some M8 sleeve tubes and drilled holes through the square section. So I'm going to butt weld underneath now, and I've welded around the top and then flashed it off. So it should be really strong. There's no way it's going to go anywhere in an accident. So the only thing I'm contemplating doing that I keep umming and ahhing is, there's not a lot going side to side. If you've got a big whack here, this will just fold. So I'm thinking of putting a bar in for the weight of it. It'll be like flipping 5 kilograms. A nice 38mm tube from the bottom of the roll cage there over to that side, just so as that's completely boxed in the driver's section, and I don't think there's anything could ever get to you, in theory. Right, okay, I flipped him over, and you can see where I've missed all my paint. Anyway, I'll carry on brushing him in, and then we'll get the rattle cans on it when we've flaccid it all off, and we'll try and get an half-decent finish. Now, you can see where I've put the extra bars in, and then if you look down that hole there, you'll see that's the end of my M8 sleeve. So I've got to butt weld that in now so it's good and strong. And also what I'll do is, this is where we put the eyelets in for the clutch belts. So that's the bottom of the bolt thread there. We'll weld all that up as well so that it's nice and strong. Not that it's going anywhere anyway. So it's remarkably solid, you know, if you look at it, considering its age. It has got some pitting in it, but it did survive very well, considering it was in a damp chicken shed for 30 odd years. Now I've just had a bit of a brainwave. I think what I'm going to do is, rather than put a piece of 38mm bar across, because it'll sit on top of the aluminium, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line between the bottom points of the main cage here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some of this inch box section, and I'll piece it in all in a straight line all the way down. Just because if you look at the design of it, apart from this piece here, which looks like it's had an hard time already, there's nothing really between there and there to box it all in, whereas the back end is massively strong. You can see it's got, you know, all that, and then it's got all this as well. So I think it's actually quite a safe car, or it could be potentially. Back in the day, it was probably very safe compared to some of the ones I've seen that have been like, you know, maybe home builds and stuff. There's just not a lot of them at all. This is probably quite over-engineered. I mean, look at them door bars. I mean, that's fantastic, isn't it? Really safe. Right, I'll crack on anyway. All these are the original rivets, if you can see. I'll just zoom in. So I've got to drill all those out, and then we can make it so we can put the new aluminium on. Just stood outside the door of the dyno. Got Jeff's 1200 on the dyno with the Del Auto cars we rebuilt last week. It idles at like 900 RPM. Sweet, really good pair of carbs. I'm really pleased with them. Have a listen to this, see what you think. Okay YouTubers, I'm having one of those every day is a school day days. This is the Stealth 1200 engine, and I've not really done a great, this is the first one I've done as a 1200cc engine with the short rod, or should we say the standard rod. So the rod to stroke ratio is down in the 1.6, what was it? 1.5, so it's really short rod to stroke. So in theory the dynamics are a bit nasty, you know, it's passing over top of the centre quite quickly. Quite a lot of angle on the rod, but it's like blowing my mind because it's hanging on much better than I expected it to. It picks up, you know, obviously the short rod gives it instant torque. It's really tractable, starting at sort of 3000 wind it round straight to getting a 98 foot-pound of torque there. Unfortunately we've got a problem with the rev counter today. It seems to be tripping out for some reason, which is making it hard for me to get some figures, but I can tell from what I'm doing that it's going to be really good, this in the car. He's going to love driving this. And we go wide open here and try and get a 4,000 figure. 4.5, 95 foot-pound. What's staggering is, if someone can answer the question for me who's done more of this than me, is how big a main jet I'm on. So at 3,500 RPM it's got 86 foot-pounds. God help that gearbox. Anyway, try and do a bit of a sweep, we'll try and get some top end stuff. But yeah, I'm staggered by, we're on like a 140 main, which is pretty sort of unheard of unless we're on big chokes, and we're not on big chokes. I've kept it on small chokes because of the fact that it is going in a road car. So I know what it's meaning. That's what the airspeed is, what makes it pick up so well. So try and get sort of 7,000 figure. Still holding 94. Back it off again. Take it to 8. Still holding 78 foot-pound at probably 8.85 there. It's pretty impressive for what was meant to be a torquey road engine. Anyway, we're going to call that in the outro now because very shortly we've got to get started ready for the NEC show, getting the car ready, etc. Morning YouTubers, we've got a visitor today, Mr. Graeme Crompton.
Hello everyone.
Yeah, lots of people in the Imp Club know this chap. He restores classic Hillmans for himself and then sells them, I believe. But yeah, he's brought his engine along today, and he'll tell us a bit about it in a second. Now, it's a 998. He calls it the COVID 998 because he built it during COVID, obviously. Now he's brought some carburetors and manifolds with him. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this on the dyno with the 2836 carb and is it a Frank manifold, a Frank Skoberger?
It is. I had to modify it, but yeah, it is.
Oh, grand. Well, we'll run it with that, and we'll get a set of figures out of it. And then what we'll do is we'll put your 40s on, and we'll set them up, and then we'll run it again. Now, the engine, it looks great, and Graeme tells me it runs an absolute treat, but it does have that little crack that I'm always banging on about. That goes between number 2 and 3 cylinder over the head stud there. So what I'm proposing to do, although Graeme tells me it leaks very, very little, is I'm going to drill a hole at each end of the crack, because once the crack gets to the spark plug thread, the head's pretty much scrap. So we want to try and stop the crack in its tracks. And obviously we can't weld it because it'll distort, so we'll put some grey glue on the top of it, and hopefully that will stop him from having any water leaks in the future. Right, so I'll stop waffling now. I'm going to hand it over to Graeme. He's going to tell us a little bit about the engine, the spec of it, the camshaft, the size, etc.
Right. Well, yeah. Thanks for telling me about the crack and how bad it can get, because I didn't know that. It was just leaking coolant, so I left it alone. There's no coolant in the chambers, so I just thought,
oh yeah, it's just an external thing.
Yeah. But if it can creep to the spark plugs, then yeah, that needs doing, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a 998. I think you would describe it as an old school engine.
Wet liners.
Yeah, wet liners. It's got the high duration and low lift.
Yeah.
Because obviously you use the extra lift now, but this is old school, so yeah, I think it's 360 thou. It's got new pistons in it, new piston rings, the metric ring pack.
Oh right, the Maynard ones.
Exactly that, and the DCD 2836.
Are we on big valves?
It's a big valve head. It's a Chessman head. No, not a Chessman head. A Greetham head. So,
oh wow!
I know it's Chessman, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So, but he didn't change the chamber shape. It's got a standard chamber shape, which is really strange.
Yeah.
But it works well. It must be high compression. And what else has it got in it? I bought a set of the extra strong main bolts and big end bolts.
Right, brilliant.
Some ARP stuff in it. So yeah, it revs up. You know, it'll do 8,500 RPM.
So are we okay? Are we okay going to 11,000 today?
Oh, let's see. I want to hear it at 11, definitely.
No. Well, you did actually worry me a little bit last night. You said it's never had any major oil pressure. It's always been a bit on the low side. So.
It has, yeah. Unfortunately, I knew what would happen, and yeah, we've got low oil pressure now. So.
Right, okay. Well, what we'll do is we'll run it up, and we'll see what the pressure's like when it's hot. I just desperately don't want to damage it for you, you know. So I need it to leave here in a running state. So what we'll do is we'll have a look at the pressures on the dyno and decide. Obviously, you've done a track day with this, haven't you? So you know it's done several track days. So we know it's pretty much okay. I always nervous. I'm not fussed what as long as it reaches 50, that's fine. It's what it comes down to idle when it's hot. That's what concerns me. But anyway, we'll cross that bridge in a bit when we get it on the dyno. So we'll get bolting it on. We'll fix this spark plug crack first, and then we'll not spark plug crack, this crack on the head, and then we'll get it bolted on. Okay, we've just cleaned off the the paint that was over the crack, and if you look, you can just about see the crack sort of finishes at the top of that radius there, so it goes right the way over the top and over to that side. So we'll drill a hole next to stop that crack from going any further, and then we'll grey glue it, and hopefully that'll be that little problem solved. So Graeme was just telling me, I said, oh, you can tell the Shrigleytubers about the plans. Where's this engine going then, Graeme?
This engine is designated for my George Bevan championship winning touring car replica that I've assembled.
And with the big arches and the big wheels?
It has the big wheels and the big arches, yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. And
have you got any pictures?
I do have some photos, I'll show you, yes.
Oh, right, we'll get a snapshot of that. Right, brilliant. Well, I'll look forward to seeing that one, definitely.
Yes, it'll be out this year. So
will it?
Yes.
With the twin 40s in
there? That's what this is for, so yeah.
Ah, brilliant.
I couldn't have a Bevan replica on a 2836, I mean.
No. Well, it sounds like it goes well enough from what you've been telling me.
It should be okay. I mean, I have plans to have a better engine for it eventually, but this will do for now.
Yeah, no, brilliant. Right, well, we'll get this glued up and get it on the dyno. Okay, Graeme's just had a little kitten. I've drilled some holes in his cylinder head, but you can see just how thin the casting is and why it actually does crack. So hopefully that will stop the hole from propagating any further and getting into the spark plug threads. Now he's a little bit nervous, aren't you?
I am. Yeah.
But don't worry, I've done this before. What I'll say is I went to watch Simon race when he first became a customer, and there was water on top of the block after practice, and the head had cracked. Big smile like yours.
Right.
So he was on for loading it up on the trailer, and I said, "Don't worry, we'll sort it." So we got the grey glue, and I said, "Look, we'll put the grey glue on the outside of it. It'll get you the meeting today, and then we'll have the head off afterwards." Anyway, after the race, it was still dry as a bone, and it was running fine. So he said, "Well, it was like 2 weeks to his next race." So I said, "We'll just try and get a next meeting out of it." Anyway, the story is we never actually touched that engine till the end of the season.
Amazing.
And then so the grey glue is really good at doing its job. It will hold it, honestly. So we'll get that on as soon as we can now, because I need a couple of hours for it to set before we run it, really. Right, we're just running the COVID 998 of Graeme's here with the 2836 car. We've not swapped over to the twin 40 Delorsos yet, but we have built them up ready. We've repaired the cylinder head with the grey glue, and it does a appears to be tight for the time being. We've still got a bit of oil pressure, so I think we're good to go again. We've done a set of figures out of it. We've got them on the paper here. It is really friendly, this. I don't know whether it's the carburettor that's making it friendly or what, but it does produce. We've had good torque. The peak torque was at 4,000 RPM, so I don't think the cam's that wild. But we'll have a look at that when we will take top off. So we go back to 4.5 there. It's got a good 65 foot-pound. 12.2 is that what we had before? Yeah. And then we'll let it do a bit of a run. It's still holding 5,000, still holding 62, 6,000, 6,500. Started to fall off 11. So we had 57 at 7. 11 at 7. Right, we'll do some conversion and give you some numbers. Brilliant, thanks for doing that, Graeme. Right, chaps, I'm just stood here with a very nervous Graeme. Yeah, you alright, Graeme?
Fine.
He's been looking really worried. Right, we've been running his engine and we've put the 40mm carbs on it now, so it's got a nice chance speed manifold. We've not been inside the engine yet. We're going to check cam timing next. I've pulled some advance out of it because it had quite a lot and I was a bit nervous for him. I said now we're going to get full air, with obviously having a lot more air available with the twin carbs, so we'll pull some advance out and make it safe. So here's some figures for the people that are interested. Oops. So you can see this here was the torque, the number that it gives you on the dyno with the 2836, and this here is the torque with the 40mm carbs we've just done. So this one here is 2836, that's the horsepower, so we had like 52 at 4, and we peaked out at 77 at 7,000. I think it was probably more fair to say it's got about 73, 72 horsepower. The dyno does overread a little bit. And then we've put the carbs on, we haven't changed anything else on the engine, and we just put the predicted jets in that we thought it'd want, and it's jumped straight to, well, it's basically jumped 11 horsepower with the 40mm carbs, and also another 5-6 foot-pound of torque. But it was pretty much better across the board, apart from at the very beginning where it was a little bit stronger with the 2836 on, but everywhere else it was better. So what we'll do next is we're going to check the cam timing. Oops, it stalled. And then we'll run it again and we'll see what figures we can get out of it with the cam timing where I think it's on. We're on, right. We'll just do a little bit of run together before we get involved with the cam timing. It picks up beautifully. We'll put it on small terms. So at 4.5 there we're seeing about 65 foot-pound of torque. 5, the up to 13, about 68. Just went to 7. Still holding on pretty well, that. So what we'll do now is we'll go back in and car imbalance there. We'll go back in and change the cam timing now and we'll see what we can get out of it. I'm sure we can get 75 foot-pound out of this. Having said that, we'll see. Right, we're just with the COVID 998 of Graeme's and we've run it with the twin 40s on and it wasn't doing what I wanted it to do. It wasn't doing what I expected, should I say. We went up on the fuel and the plug still looked lean and it just nothing really changed, and yeah, it was just something wasn't quite right. So I thought we'd have a look at the cam. Now I've come to take it apart and it's got a really weird cam. So I've not seen a cam like this before. I'll just hand you over to our friend Graeme. He knows a bit more about it. Tell us about the identification marks on it.
Well, it's a YY camshaft, and nobody knows why. Right. Yeah, I don't know where it came from. It's unknown. No one can identify origin. It. So, right. Yeah. Well,
all we can say is that there might be an expert out there that knows. But if I zoom in, that's an exhaust lobe, and it's got loads of duration on it. And that's an inlet lobe, and it's got a lot less duration. So I'm not quite sure what the theory is. There's obviously someone with a theory somewhere, and to be fair to it, it works really well. I mean, it had a good, it was very friendly, but we've took it apart now. Graeme's obviously timed it in with a lot of advance because he wanted it to work down low in the RPM range, which it did. It had 205 valve lift at top dead center on the inlet valve, and only, is it 8 thou on the exhaust?
8, yes.
Yeah, so I balanced it out about 100 thou a side, so I've made it 117 on the inlet, and we reckon that's giving it about 90 on the exhaust. So that's where we're going to be at for our next run now. So I'm quite excited because I think that's going to make the engine behave in the way I expected it to behave. It should hang on because peak torque was far too early for looking at the wildness of that cam. So I'm expecting peak torque to be shifted now to like 5,500 RPM, and hopefully we'll see the magic 75 foot-pound of torque. So watch this space. Right, we're on the dyno now with the engine, with the cam timing set at what I think could be a sensible place, and we've done a full set of figures, and we've had to mess about a fair bit. We've put some advance back in it now, and we've put a lot of fuel in. It's got a big main. I'm having a bit of one of my learning curve days today, so this camshaft isn't like anything I've come across before, and it's actually really remarkably powerful, the engine. Now Graeme said it was powerful, didn't you?
It's a good one.
It's a good one. Well, yeah, it's definitely a good one. I can't knock it. So I've done some figures here in case you want to pause and have a look. This is the after the cam timing figures, so you can see beforehand. Just give that a blip, mate. Keep it going. He's killed it. Right. So here's the 40s when we ran it with the cam timing untouched. And we've gained like another 10 horsepower just by setting the cam timing. But what was really good, if we looked at the where am I? So this is the torque figures after we changed the cam timing. So you can see we've seen the 14s like the 75 foot-pound all over, 14.5 there at 5.5 and 6, which helps it to make the, you know, it's only doing 7,000 RPM. Well, not 5 horsepower. In fact, it's not a bad air day today. It's 1,005 millibars, so we'll call that 93 horsepower, which I think for only doing 7,000. If it had some more oil pressure, I'd go to 8,000 with it, but I just can't risk. You know, he's happy customer at the moment, aren't you?
You're a bit of a wimp though, not for revving it up.
But I just let's just make sure everything's right in it, because I'd hate for it to go belly.
Leave it to me. I'll blow it up in my car.
Right, I'll go and start it and we'll do a run together. Right, we'll try and get do a bit of a low end figure first. We'll try and get like a 4 or 5. So 4 or 5 there, we've seen about 70. Respectable. Let's back it off. 5,000, it's gone up now. We've seen nearly 72. 6,000. 73, up to 7 now, still holding it. Yeah, cool. You've got some oil pressure to go in with as well, which is good. Hey. So yeah, we'll call that in the outro.
Thank you so much, Andy.
You're very welcome. Thanks for coming. Okay, good morning, YouTubers. Going back a few episodes now to episode 26. You may remember a friend of mine coming to visit. His name was Nigel Stringer, and this was an engine that he'd built himself, I think maybe 15 years ago, and he'd had a little bit of an issue with oil consumption. Nothing that he'd done with the build, just some spurious parts that weren't quite right. So he brought the engine along, we stripped it, and I said, look, I'll put some pistons in it for you, some of Mark Maynard's ones, that'll sort the oil consumption out, and we'll re-glue the liners because the Loctite goes old, you know, whether they sit in Loctite, so we'll refresh it all. I'll skim the block, try and get the compression up, which has worked out quite well because we ended up with 12.5 to 1, so it should be quite snappy. Be nice for him, nice and zippy. I've done a bit of work on the head as well, and redone the wheel string grooves, etc. Now, I'd not videoed building this engine. We're going to run it together now, but I have took pictures, so I thought what I could do is, for a change, rather than, because I do like doing the videos when I'm building them, but it just takes me twice as long to do the job. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a series of snapshots on of the engine going together, and then we'll get it on the dyno and give it a good run and see what it's like. Okay YouTubers, this is the Nigel Stringer engine and the 998 that's now a 1012 thanks to a 0.5 oversize. It's got a Dennis Holt nice big valve head on it, an R20 camshaft, an amber racing sump, a pair of twin 40 DCOEs and a lovely Will Parry exhaust manifold. Now I've been creeping up on this pretty gently. I've just been doing a final tweak. I think I've got the fuel in here there about where I want it. The advance was a bit of a pain because this has ended up quite a high compression engine and the cam isn't dead wild, so it doesn't want loads of advance because it's got 12.5 static. I don't know exactly what the dynamic will be, but it'll be fairly high, so we're only running sort of 30 degrees. Now the original Dizzy had like a 15 degree swing in it at half speed, obviously at distributor speed, which equates to 30 degrees at the crankshaft, so we were going from 0 to 30 degrees, which meant it did not want to idle very nicely. It was very lethargic. So I've narrowed that advance curve now to about 8 degrees. So 8 degrees at distributor obviously is 16 degrees at crankshaft. So we're starting with sort of 14 degrees at idle and then we're swinging up to 30. I'm trying to get it to do it after sort of about 4,000 RPM, which is where we want the advance to come in, because what you've got to remember is the burn speed is a constant, it doesn't change. That's dictated by the compression ratio and the fuel air ratio and things like that, whereas obviously the faster it goes the less time it's got to go bang, so we can start it off earlier, hence why we have advance. But that's for another day, another subject. But just touching on, so it picks up beautifully. This it's such a nice engine because Nigel selected all the best bits to build it. Unfortunately, he just got caught out with some parts that he bought for it, but now we've got the right bits in it, it just works well. So we'll just load it up here. It's quite eager. 7,000 there, 75 foot-pound, which is what we tend to see with a 998. If it had some more lift, it'd do more power, this, but the 90 horsepower cam, I call it, it's the R20. Everyone loves an R20. They are good and they do the job. They're quite friendly, you see. It'd be a good driver, this, you know, with standard gear ratios and a car with floor mats in and a bit of weight in it. But if I can go vertigo wide open from sort of 3,000, yeah, still doing 70 foot-pound at 4.5, nice and flat as well. So yeah, it's shaped up quite nicely, this. I think he'll really enjoy it. In fact, what we'll do is we'll do a little video with Nigel here tomorrow. We'll watch him have kittens as we take it to 8,000 RPM. Good morning YouTubers, we're just on the dyno here. I'm joined by Nigel. You might remember Nigel from a few episodes back.
Morning.
Morning. Now Nigel is gonna actually run his engine before we take it off, and he takes it home today. So I'm happy with it. I've done all the work I wanted to do to it. So I said, why don't you have a go at giving it a little run? So are you ready, Nigel? We're now no more than 10,500, okay?
I don't want to go that high.
No, we'll just run it to sort of like 6,000 or something, and then okay. I'll do the video in. So yeah, all you've got to do is just fettle it a little bit to start with, just to get it on the cam. But just by pumping it, give it a bit of fuel. That's it. The shaft will stop rattling in a minute. That's it. You're on now. Right, just come on the cam a bit. Okay, so we're doing about 60 foot-pound there. You can go wide open and see what happens. Going all the way. Yeah, we're holding about 70 foot-pound there at 5. Oh, we're off again. So it's holding about 74. That's great. Back it off there. Oh, you're nice and gentle on the return, aren't you, Nigel? Yeah. I'm a bit too aggressive.
You do it.
I know. I do back off a bit too quick, and a bloke actually emailed me to say if you back off too quick when you're maximum RPM, you run the risk of breaking the crankshaft. And I thought, crikey! So I'll have to start doing. That was nice. That
it sounded brilliant. That.
Do you want a job?
I'd volunteer if I lived near her.
Oh mate, it'd be great to have you here. Nigel used to come to all of the HSCC meetings when we were racing, so he's been watching the YouTube videos of Cadwell Park. In fact, you were there, weren't you?
I've been at all of them since, I don't know, the early 2000s. I used to come with John Hall and Keith Robbins, and we had a nickname. They called us the Three Musketeers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, you was well committed. I'll give you that. Fair play. And Nigel's very kindly brought a video along for me to convert for Tuesday night, which is Brands Hatch on Motors TV, which I thought was gone forever, but no, Nigel had got it in his file, so that's great, Nigel. Thank you so much for being there. The YouTubers, I'm sure, will enjoy watching that, and I will too. Brill. Right, well, we'll wrap that up. We'll get this off, and we'll get it loaded in your van, and you can have it running by tea time tonight.
Thank you very much, Al. I doubt if it'll be tea time, but can't wait anyway.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, YouTubers, I've got a crankshaft here, which I'm having a bit of a dilemma over. This is the crankshaft that came with the engine belonging to the Hartwell car, the 1150cc one. So we can see by looking here, there's hardly any material left, which means there's much more on this side, because this is actually a stroked crankshaft, so it's a long stroke crank. Now, it was originally standard size, and then he's had it looked at, and someone's reground it to 10th thou undersize. But when I measure it and try and do this one-handed with the G-clamp, these mains are 1 inch 875, and I'm getting a measurement of, let's get it to zoom in, 1 inch 876, so it's a thou up on standard, and that's the same across all the main journals. So either the guy's mic's been out, which I can't believe. I've tried it with 2 different 1-to-2 mics, and I'm getting the same results all the way across. And what's also interesting is, so we're a thou up on the mains. Now the big ends on an imp are 1 inch 625, which inch and 5/8, and I'm getting these, and I will always end up running at like 1 inch 624 by the time I've had a polish, you know, that sort of era. I like a good 2.5 to 3 thou running clearance. To allow the oil to get past the bearing, and obviously take the heat with it. Now this, same again, I'm up at 1 inch 625/7, so it's a good 7/10 up on standard. Now, and we never see them at standard size, they're always a thou down, so it's like nearly 2 thou bigger than I want it to be. Which it'll probably work, but it's different to everything else that I run. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try and get the camera in there. I'm going to take this to Ken the Cranks now, and I'm going to ask him if he can put his polishing tongs on it and polish it down for me. And then it'll be the same as everybody else's, and I'll be happy to build it. Okay chaps, this is inside the crank grinder's place. This is called a Prince grinder, and it's got a modern type BMW, I think, crankshaft it is. Now you can see the way it works. It actually follows the crank pin round and regrinds it as it goes. There's 2 feet there on I don't know what it's called, like a heel or something. So it's just putting a cut on there, which obviously pushes those 2 feet closer to the grinding wheel, and it takes a cut. So this is a reconditioning type machine, whereas there is another grinder that works, so basically has an offset chuck so that the crank pins can centric. Okay YouTubers, hope you enjoyed tonight's show. I'll look forward to seeing you on Tuesday night at 7 when we'll have the in-car with the voiceover. Have a great week.